minus x squared.
Does this take a lot of space?
Well, yeah, kind of. Okay, so this is called a rational root theorem. Do you guys remember what rational means?
It can be made
A number that can be written as a fraction. So a root is an answer for x, basically. It's the same thing. A root is the same thing as saying what's the zero of the function, what makes the function equal 0. It's just the solution for this equation, basically. So actually on the Monday's lesson we're going to learn this. If the degree of the function is 3, it basically has 3 roots, 3 answers. Unless there's a double root, and then it only has like 2. But anyway, there's going to be 3 answers for this. And since it's not a quadratic equation, I can't do the quadratic formula. It doesn't factor. Actually, does it? Okay, it does factor. You guys remember how we learned to factor yesterday?
You put the first 2 things.
Yeah, grouping. We could do grouping on this one. We're not supposed to. And we need to practice for the ones that don't. So, okay. Rational root. So if this has a rational answer, like 3/4 or 2/3 or -7 or something like that, then there's a way that you can find it. And it's a trick. You do the factors of the last term over the factors of the first. Let me say it this way. The factors of the last coefficient over the factors of the first coefficient. Okay, what do I mean? What are the factors of 1? 1, plus or minus, technically, yeah. And if there's no number up there, that's a 1 also. What are the factors?
Where'd you get 0?
Huh?
Never mind.
I was circling an empty space,
Oh.
not a 0.
So it's 1 or -1.
Okay, so it's either 1 over 1 or -1 over 1, or so basically it's positive or -1. So all these can be positive or negative, but 1 over 1. So our 2 options are 1 and -1. If it does have a rational root. So, because remember, sometimes the answers were like 2 plus or minus I or something weird like this. That's not rational. That's imaginary.
What happens if so it's plus or minus 1?
They will. If it didn't, you'd have to like use your calculator or something. So how am I going to figure out which of these works?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. So you could just do plug in 1 there, or we could use the synthetic thing. Now these are pretty easy, like x. We could just plug in 1 there pretty easy to see if it works. But on the other problems, there will be like bigger numbers here, so we might want to use synthetic substitution and see if we get a 0 to come out. Just for practice, let's use synthetic substitution, shall we? We'll need it for later. So. By the way, when I graded that assignment, a lot of you missed 20 and 22 because you weren't putting zeros in. Did I hand those back? No, I didn't. You weren't putting 0. If it's missing a term, like if there was no x squared term right there, you need to put a 0 in right here. And we graded that together. So if you're like, oh, I missed all of number 20, that's because you didn't put a 0 in. What was that? Okay. So if this comes out as a 0 right there, then it's an answer, okay? We can use it for division.
Wait, what's an answer?
1.
1.
If we work it out and it comes out as 0, that's what we want.
How,
We can use it, we're doing synthetic substitution right now, like plugging a 1 in, but it's also used for synthetic division.
How do you choose the number 1?
Okay, that was where I did the factors of this number over factors of this number.
Okay.
Factors of 1 are positive or -1 over factors of 1, which are positive or negative.
So are we doing?
So it's
negative
1 over
two?
1, positive or negative. So my answer could be 1 up here or it could be negative 1. And it could, the tricky thing is, I could have the answer 1 work 3 times, like a triple root. I could get the same answer 3 times. But really I only need to find one answer. Because, okay, let's just do this. Add down, multiply up, add down, multiply up, add down, multiply up, add down. Good job, Brady.
Thank you.
Probably wouldn't have made it if you hadn't worked it.
Probably not.
Okay,
So 1 is an answer.
yes, 1 is an answer. But I have potentially 2 more answers.
So you plug in 1 again.
Okay, no,
Or negative 1.
no. Once you get it down to the last 2 answers, there's a fast forward trick. And, okay, we've talked about this before. I'm gonna try and explain this again. If 1 is an answer, then I know that x minus 1 is a factor, right?
Right.
You guys remember doing that the other day? If x minus 1 is a factor, that means I should be able to divide this by x minus 1. And it works out perfectly. That's basically what I did when I put 1 in right there.
Right.
I divided. Because synthetic substitution, synthetic division are the same. Anyway, I got a 0 remainder because it divided perfectly. So what I did really is I took out the answer 1, like I divided that factor out of this, so this kind of represents my 2 remaining answers down here. You guys remember what this represents if I divide?
1x squared minus 0x.
Right, plus 0x minus 1, or just x squared minus 1. So my last 2 answers are in here.
1.
Well,
So plus 1 minus 1?
right,
What?
Plus 1 minus 1.
positive 1 or negative 1. So I already had positive 1 as an answer, so that means 1 is a double root, because I already took out a factor of x minus 1. And negative 1 is also an answer. But anyway, that's the 2 answers.
So 13.
That was 13.
I don't like this.
It's tricky. It's tricky. Tricksy. Yeah, okay. And after you practice it a few times, not bad. x4 minus 10x squared plus 9. This is 15. Okay, so my possible rational roots are factors of 9 over factors of 1. So I'm going to make a list. What are the factors of 9?
3 and 3.
Okay, 3,
Wow.
1,
Mm.
and 9. 1 times 9, 3 times 3.
Yeah.
So those are the possibles on top. And then
1.
factors of 1 are 1. So it's either 1 over 1, 3 over 1, or 9 over 1. In other words, it's either 1, 3, or 9. But also, these could have been positive or negative, so
Plus
it's
minus.
plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 7.
We've done this before, I remember.
Oh yeah, we did in the number 2.
What happens if one of them are
Yeah,
Wait.
we kept
Did
it
you do that,
together.
Mr. Jordan?
You remembered something?
I remembered it.
Before other people did? What'd you say?
What happens if one of the coefficients is negative? Does it affect it?
Doesn't matter. All these can be positive or negative. Because factors of a negative could be a negative times a positive. It could be, all these can be positive or negative. So remember that it's important to guess well.
3.
Actually, I'm going to plug in 1 because that's the easiest. And I'm going to plug it in up here
I just want
just to see if it works. So, because if I plug in 1 right there, 1 to the 4th is 1, 1 squared is 1. So this would be 1 minus 1 times 10, 10
So,
is negative 9, plus 9 is 0. So I already know 1 is an answer.
Is it time to add down multiply up?
But I still need to do synthetic because I need to like divide that answer out.
The 1?
Yes, the 1. I know 1's going to work. So I need to divide that. If 1 works, x minus 1 is a factor. I need to divide by x minus 1, basically.
1,
Okay.
0,
0,
-10, 9. Oh, it was 0.
0.
9.
Yeah.
You showed us, Brady.
I did.
This is Brady's day to dominate.
Yes, I'm the alpha here today.
What if like what if one day a year your brain was like super powered?
That'd be crazy.
Yes,
Okay. I feel like there's some movie that I just accidentally referenced or something.
Add
Is
down.
that a TV show? And the guy's like, he takes some,
Is it like a superhero show or something?
I don't know. It's a
Oh,
guy
I
that
think
takes
it's a
pill.
book I read. No, I think it was a book I read.
What book was
I
it?
watched
Also
it.
that movie, like Lucy or something,
But there was a book I read, I think, or maybe it was, I don't know. The guy was like a genius one day of the year. It was a Sanderson series, that's what it was.
There's this TV show where the guy, he has to take this pill, but he takes it every day and then he's really smart.
Oh, I remember
It's like
seeing that.
super,
Yeah, this guy is like.
Oh,
he's
add
an
down.
opposite.
Multiply
It's
up.
like this experimental drug.
Add down.
Yeah,
Multiply up.
Oh,
it's,
yeah, I forgot it was
I
called.
did
but
it. I got that.
It's I know what you're talking about.
Wait, so what?
It was a really good season. It was
Okay.
one season. It was
So then
really
it's
good.
I thought it was a
X
movie.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe there's
There's a movie and there's a TV show, I think.
Something mine, maybe?
No.
Yeah.
I referenced it.
Mega Man.
Alright, here's the problem. Even though I got one answer, I still am left with a cubic function. So I can't like,
Can we group it now?
well, yeah, we're not supposed to group on this section.
Why? It's the same
Let's group.
sign.
Because later on you
Practice more.
can't group it on some of these, so we need to practice. We're gonna follow the directions.
Mr. Jordan, you don't want to go to donuts with dads? That's what
Oh,
the
that's what
email
it
is
said,
for.
maybe look at it.
You don't want to go to donuts with dads, Mr.
This is
Jordan?
the pits.
That was not the best.
This is very much the kids.
So it's possible that 1 is a double root, not just a single root. So I'm going to see if I plug in 1 again, will it work? 1 plus 1 is 2 minus 9. No, that doesn't work. Maybe -1. If I plug in -1. So my options were these. I plugged in 1 and it worked. So now I'm trying some
Oh, I
other.
think I.
Wait, how would it work up there but not here?
Because when I basically just divided by x minus 1, so this might not have 1 as its answer because I already took it out of this. Does that make sense? Like 1 is an answer for this, but then I divided this by the factor x minus 1. So now 1 is not an answer for this. Like I took the answer out.
Wait, -1 works, right?
-1 works, I haven't checked. That'd be 1, that'd be 9, that'd be, yeah, that does work.
So -1 is.
So, what I'm gonna do, I don't need that, is put -1 up here, and then do it again.
Add down. Multiply up. Multiply up. Add down. Multiply up. Add down.
Alright. So, this represents x squared
Yeah, okay.
minus 9.
What movie?
Limitless is what
Oh,
it's called.
yeah.
It was great.
I thought it was okay.
There's a movie and a TV show.
Xander, do you know how to factor this one?
It's like the thing x plus 30x minus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you do.
What's that called again? I forgot.
It's called the square minus the square.
Okay.
So what are the two answers?
Plus or minus
Plus or
3,
minus
and then 1.
Yeah, remember from before we had positive and -1, so I guess plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 3. So we got 4 answers on that one.
You really put me on the spot like
I said that on the first
There you
problem.
go. You got it.
Welcome to the class.
I
Because it's when you're
I've
scribed
done
under
that too,
pressure.
yes.
That was
That was
called.
the
Right.
first time you asked me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was
right.
the easy one. And that was.
I mean,
Strived under.
I know what you guys should have.
Writing paper.
his brain.
I try not to single people out too much. Alright, you guys see how this is going?
No.
Number 19.
Wait, it should be 17.
I can't believe you got
17.
What?
Half and half iced tea lemonade. Really good stuff.
So 17 is only a cubic function, so we should only have to find one before we're able to solve it ourselves.
Okay. Now how to start off the problem.
Bro, this is a long one.
We start it by grouping. No.
This, okay,
No,
this
no
one,
grouping is allowed.
Let me group.
this one does not group, so.
Let me do it. You go 2 over 3. Wait.
Factors of
Factors
2,
of 2 is
over
1 and 2.
factors of 3. 1 and 2 over
3 and 1.
1 and 3.
I said 3.
So it could be 1 over 1 or 2 over 1. So that's plus or minus 1 plus minus 2. Or it could be 1 over 3 or 2 over 3.
Let's hope it's not.
So let's hope it's not this. Those are a little harder to work out. But we could if we had to. Okay, I'm going to try the 1 again because that's the easiest. That would make that a 3 minus 4 minus 5 plus 2. I believe that works, didn't it?
3 minus 4. No.
3 minus 4 is negative 1 minus, no, it doesn't. Negative 1 is, that'd be negative 3 minus 4 plus 5 plus 2. That one works.
What works?
I plugged in negative 1 and got that.
But one didn't work.
1 did not work.
It's not really.
So I'm going to divide.
One and
Okay, if negative 1 works, x plus 1 is a factor. What I'm really dividing by is x plus 1, even though I'm putting negative 1 right there. So I'm going to put my coefficients, 3, negative 4, negative 5, 2.
I don't multiply up.
Okay.
where's Josh at one?
But he rested.
Your,
I'm taking.
your horrible accent is grating on my ears.
I'm taking Josh's spot.
Josh has a good accent, as you might guess, from somebody who's hears it a lot.
I don't mind. I am better accent rating.
Yeah, you beat Brady. It's
Whoa,
not.
whoa, whoa.
That's not
whoa.
saying much.
Brady, do your accent again.
And don't multiply up. I see it. Yeah, that's not it.
Drew said the same thing.
I don't multiply up. Yeah, it's better. It's not good, but it's better.
I think they're both equally bad.
Okay,
I'll take that. Yeah.
this does factor. It's the harder factoring because there's a number on the front. So if you don't feel comfy factoring, you have to use quadratic formula. Once you get it down to an x squared, you can do quadratic formula. Sometimes they won't factor at all, and you have to use quadratic formula, like if it's an imaginary answer.
It's minus 2.
So we know what goes into 3x squared is 3x times x.
It's minus 2 minus 1.
What goes into 2 is 2 and 1. And if I put negative 2 out here, that makes negative 6. And minus 1 right there, that makes negative 7.
Boom.
And then what would my answers be?
Plus 2.
1 over 3.
1 over 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Brady.
I always
2.
forget that.
And remember from earlier we had negative 1.
I always forget that. Negative 1.
How we get the 1 over 3?
Okay, when there's a number on the front of this, instead of it being just 1 like that, it's going to be 1/3. If you forget, you can just say, like, what makes this equal to 0? Like, plus 1. Divide by 3, 1/3. It's a pattern every time. It's like positive 1 over 3. Okay, now we're on 19, right? Now, this is
Why
the
is
last
the
one.
distance and midpoint formula?
I just
I'm not gonna get that.
Algebra 2.
Oh, are you teaching them
Yeah.
like for the first time?
Actually, it's in Algebra 1. We did that in Algebra 1 too, though.
So are you teaching Algebra 1 yet? Or is that later?
Algebra 2 just did it. Algebra 1 won't do it for a long time.
That's right.
Like the end of the year. Alright.
I want to go back and like sit in on that Algebra 1 class, just so I can feel smart
Yeah,
again.
you're like, man, I'm a genius.
I want to feel smart again.
Okay, what the heck?
X to the 4th.
X to the 4th plus 2x cubed. So this one should have 4 answers unless there's a double root. Which
Wait, how do you, oh,
Because
there's
of the
4
exponent
answers
thing?
if there's.
Yeah, because the exponent.
And it's off of the highest exponent, right?
Yeah.
Each time.
The highest exponent is called the degree of a polynomial.
Does that change anything whenever you're trying to figure out the
Well, that means we're going to have to find 2 answers before we get it down to a quadratic, x squared. So that makes it a little bit harder. So I need factors of 3 over factors of 1.
3 and 1, 1 and 1.
So it's either 1 over 1 or 3 over 1. So that's good. We don't have a lot of options.
Let's
So we
try
need to
it.
write out all the options.
Let's
No,
try
I'm not going to
3.
grade you on that now.
Okay.
No, we always start with 1. because
Let's
it's
try
easiest.
1.
If you plug in 1, it just turns those x's into 1s. So that would be 1 plus 2 minus 2 minus 6 minus 3.
No.
No, that didn't work.
Try
Negative
negative 1.
Negative.
I'm guessing since that doesn't work at 1.
Okay, negative 1 to the 4th is 1. This would be negative 2. This would be negative 2. No, that doesn't look good either.
Wait.
It's
I don't think
3
so.
now.
No. Oh, yeah, it is.
Wait, yeah,
Yeah, it
Wait,
is.
Negative 7 and positive 7.
Yeah, you're right. Negative 7, positive 7. He's right.
What number is that?
Negative 1 is what I plugged in. So I'm going to divide by x plus 1.
You know on the evens there's not going to be one problem that has 1.
Yeah.
Not fun. No, only 20 doesn't have a 1 or negative 1. But
Okay.
they're pretty nice to you. All right.
For the first time ever.
Where's the other space from
We're not
And
doing
down multiply up.
a lot of them.
And down multiply.
Okay.
I'm done multiply.
At least we're better than
So
that.
what I've got so far is
Are you
this.
Yeah,
Okay, I know 1's not an answer because it wasn't an answer in the first thing. Negative 1 though could be a double root, so I need to check that again.
Wait, they're both 3x?
And you know how to do that? And down multiply up.
So negative 1 cubed, negative 1 squared. Okay, did negative 1 work again? Yes.
Sure.
So I'm gonna use divide again.
Oh.
Negative 1 is a double root,
Oh, we're
so I'm gonna go again with negative 1.
add down multiply.
I'm done multiply up.
Don't worry. I'm done. Or anyway.
Wait.
Okay, how do I solve that for x? Add the 3 over. X squared equals 3, so x plus or minus square root of 3. So that's 2 answers, and the other
Negative 1 to
Negative
9.
negative 1 was a double.
Don't worry, yeah, I'll still get it.